Hello, how are you guys doing today? Welcome back to Reading Between the Lines. I just wanted to start this video today with a thank you for everybody who's liked and subscribed and watched my videos. Please continue to share them and to like them and to watch them. I'm trying to grow my channel and I'm having a lot of fun doing this, so I just wanted to throw out a thank you to everybody before we got started today. But today I'm going to just kind of jump right into it. Yesterday I did a video on this book, The History of Peter the Great, the Emperor of Russia by Voltaire. And I don't know if you saw it, but my notes kind of got messed up and I had forgotten to mention something. And I'm kind of glad I did because I did a little bit more research on it today and it turned out to be really something pretty cool. So what it is there was this mention in here that I noticed of what he called the Cuban Tartars. And I was like, what? Cuban Tartars? I have never heard of such a thing. First of all, Cuba is over here, right? And we were talking about Russia here. He mentioned that he was dealing with the incursion of the Cuban Tartars near the Volga River. This is the Volga River, okay, right there. Which, this is Russia. This is the Caspian Sea. Yeah, it's nowhere near Russia at all. Now, the Volga River does have access to the ocean right there. Sorry, this is kind of blurry, but it comes out right there into the North Sea. So since, there is technically this does get into the water. But anyway, so I looked up Cuban Tartars and no, there was no such animal. Really no connection at all. So I was like, what does that mean? So I kept looking and I noticed that if I found this map of Cuba, right, there was what you call an island called the Grand Turk. And it was basically this archipelago. I don't know if I said that right. Forgive me. And anyway, that group of islands is called the Turks and the Caicos Islands. It's like, that's interesting because I know from some previous videos that I've done that Cuba was the name of this island before Columbus got there. He did not rename it. That was what the natives called it. That's what he called it. And that's what we still call it today. So I was curious about the Turks and Caicos Islands. Like, that's Turks. Yeah, well, obviously Turks and Tartars are related, right? There's a lot of people, the word can be interchangeable for a lot of people. It's, they're basically the same thing in many different forms. Tartars is kind of a broad term. I'm sure you all know about the connection between the Turks and the Tartars. So here we go. So I'm like, well, let's look into the history of this island. I was trying to find out if it was, when did it get its name? So this article, and I found a couple of them, this is just the best one of them. It tells us about the history, and it tells us that there was a rich culture before Columbus got there in 1492, when the islands were inhabited by the the Taino and the Lucayan Indians. Well, Indians. We still call them Indians. Why do we do that? That's so weird. Anyhow, the settlers, that was the name of the islands before Columbus got there, basically. It came from the Arawak language. The Turks was what they called this group of islands. Now, this article says that it's a reference to the indigenous Turk's head cactus. And I found out that Turk's head cactus is called the Turk's head cactus because it has the pointed tops, kind of like the hats that the Turkish are known for wearing, the conical ones. So even if it is named after the cactus, these people had to know what a Turk looked like before they could even name the cactus. So this whole idea of Turks, that means the Turks were here. They might have even settled this place because that's the name of the place, right? A lot of times you can find out a lot of hidden knowledge just by names because people forget to rename stuff and they forget what the names mean. And so I was like, wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. So where's the Wikipedia one? So I'm like, what else can I find out? What else is in here, right? So I went and looked at where is it? I wanted to find out a little bit more about the Grand Turk, the island of the Grand Turk, which is in here, around here somewhere. You guys probably get sick of me just scrolling through this stuff so fast. I apologize. I need to slow down, don't I? Ba, 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 ba. I'm always in such a hurry. Oh, Grand Turk. There it goes. So the Grand Turk Island. There's a myth or a theory here. The Grand Turk's on the end right here. There's a theory that no lighthouse. That's the first place that Columbus actually landed was the Grand Turk. It explains it here. It's like, and the reason that it could be likely is because that's kind of the natural place to land, really, when because of the ocean currents. Like if you look at this map, all right, this is Spain. That's where Columbus took off right there. And the currents just kind of, they come around and they just kind of throw you right there into those islands. That's how, depending on the time of year, like if it was sooner in the year, he probably would have hit the North America first. Because it was later in the year, that's why he likely hit the Caribbean islands first. Or the history says Cuba first, but then these people say, well, it might have been the Grand Turk. And see, I was like, okay, so if that's kind of the natural place to land or the natural first landfall, then what if, I mean, the Turks could have got there first, right? Or the Tartars. It's totally possible. They had access here. The Cuban Tartars might have been used to. They might have used this port all the time. There's no reason why they had to leave and never come back or, be one place or the other. I don't even know if Cuba was named before the Cuban Tartars were named. We don't really know, right? So if you look here, this is the North Sea right here. It's not that big of a stretch to come here, and the currents will take you right there. That's where he comes out at the North Sea, and then it's just boom. And see, Spain is right here too, so they're basically in line. They would go to the same place. They would end up in the same place. I mean, if they were just sailing without really navigating, Columbus was kind of winging it. I mean, he knew something was out there, but he didn't really know a whole lot about it. And anybody could, I'm sure he wasn't the first one to just wing it, right? So anybody that would come from this area would come around, and then they would probably stop in Spain as their last port before they took off. So if it's known, if the Cuban Tartars are known well enough for someone like Voltaire to just use their name without explanation, and he did not, also when he did I read the whole book, the whole history of Russia, there was no group of Cuban Tartars. There was a number of different Tartar groups that he described, no Cuban Tartars. That was the only mention of them, and kind of threw it in there. And so, I mean, he threw it in there as if people would just know what that meant. So to me, it seems like it was kind of like well known. Of course, how would we know that if it wasn't written down? In that time period, there was only a few companies that published, and Voltaire was in tight with all of them. He was the most prolific writer of his day, first guy ever to make money selling books. So yeah, he would know. I mean, if he would be among the people who would know how to, or would have the power to either censor books or have any power over what's published or over what's kept and what's not, basically knowing what information is going to be passed on, to the next generation. So the only way to really get around that a lot of times is through folklore and through when you go to places and you talk to the locals. Sometimes they have hidden gems of knowledge, like that one history that I just read to you about how that was the original name of those islands, the Turk Islands, that it was named after a cactus. But either way, even if it was, it still is relevant. So that's the other thing that is a good way to find clues is the names of places. Oftentimes people will forget how places got their name, and they will just call it the name of that place, and they'll forget that word has meaning, anything other than, that's that island, Cuba. They forget that Cuba word actually will have meaning, in some other language or somehow. So that's another way to really find a lot of hidden or covered up, we don't know, covered up or hidden knowledge from the past that you won't find anywhere else. So I just thought that was really cool. the Cuban Tartars. And, you know, who knows? Were they always trading back and forth? Of course, somebody like Columbus and the elites are going to want to keep that kind of knowledge hidden because they want to get the credit and they want to control everything. But it could even be more than that. It could be that this was Tartaria and that was just the Cuban Tartaria. That is totally possible. There's so many, every day that I do this, I find more and more clues and, you know, little bits of information that point to that really maybe being true. And that's what this is all about, though, is just trying to find out the hidden knowledge from the past. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I just wanted to share that with you real quick. Please like and subscribe and be safe out there and take care. I'll see you later.